Welcome to the talk show, Lighting the Educational Flame, with your host, Mark Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields and academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. The queen of game show casting, Beverly Pomerantz, is today's guest. Beverly talks about her many years in helping people achieve their dreams of being game show contestants.
Hello and welcome to the talk show, Lighting the Educational Flame, brought to you by Great Success Education. I'm your host, Mark Hoberman. Today, our guest is game show casting director, Beverly Pomerantz. Beverly, welcome to Lighting the Educational Flame.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very impressed with everything you do. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Beverly, casting director, game show. So, on our show, we always talk about following your passion on Lighting the Educational Flame. But nobody wakes up and says, hey, I want to do that. I just saw that contestant jumping up and down. I want to book her. So how do we get from young kid to becoming more mature and saying, this is the path I want to take?
It's interesting you say that because I really didn't know, even when I was older, I was very shy, extremely shy, and I got a job at a bank. And then I started working at a bank, and the more I was with people, it started opening up my personality a little more. And then I realized after 12 years, I want to talk to people in a good mood. In a bank, you're waiting in line, you're yelling, you're getting upset. And I thought I would love to work with people in a good mood, not in a bad mood. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't even think of game shows, even though I grew up watching game shows all the time. And then one day I called a girlfriend and what are you doing? I said, looking for a job. She says, can you be dressed in a half an hour? And I went to Merrill Heater's home, who created the Hollywood Squares. Oh. He hired me on the spot. It was front office work. And then about a couple weeks later, Art Alisi, he was wonderful. They were wonderful to work for. He said, I want you to start auditioning contestants. And I was like, what? I was so nervous. And go find him. What? I didn't know what he was talking about. So I would go to markets, I'd find contestants. And the first time I interviewed them, I was so nervous, the table shook up and down. Oh, but after 3 days, I realized, they're more nervous than me. They think they're more nervous than me. Right. So I started having fun with it. And, it started evolving that way.
But so how long ago Hollywood Squares? Are we talking Peter Marshall?
Yeah.
John Davidson?
No.
What are we talking about?
Peter Marshall. And my very first game show, I never left the house on Friday nights because I had to watch Hollywood Squares. Mm-hmm. So my very first game show was All-Star Blitz, and Peter Marshall was the host. I just couldn't believe it. I just could not believe that I'm working with Peter Marshall. And, I watched him on TV, and then I was casting his shows.
Well, when you're behind the scenes, how often do you accidentally see the 9 people who fill up those squares? Do you go out there during the show? Do you mingle with them?
Well, I'll be honest, on that show, I did not work on that show. I worked on All-Star Blitz, which was very similar. So yes, but it was similar. So we had celebrities. So yes, I was able to mingle with them and talk to them. They wanted to hire me for Hollywood Squares, but I was casting something else at the time. And but you get to, you go in the room with them, in the makeup room, and you chat with them a little bit. And everybody was wonderful. I have photos of every single show. I used to take photos.
You can see photos behind me, but I'm more of a stalker than a casting director. So I love that too. I'm enamored of stars and always have been. I love meeting them and taking pictures with them. But to be in the mix with them on a show, and it's amazing because a lot of people don't realize that there are people who handle the audience. So for example, I saw with a camp group many years ago, Jeopardy. Had to be 25 years ago. And when you go in, there's a comedian that warms up the audience, and they tell you clap this way, look this way. I've been on, in the audience on some talk shows, but when you're actually the person booking the contestants, people think it's all about just knowledge and, hey, can this person tell that the rice-a-roni is 49 cents? I know it's a lot of personality involved in it. So, everybody always brags, I could be a contestant on that show. I could do better than that person. But what tips do you have for being a successful contestant on a game show?
I am so glad you asked me that because I had a game show seminar. I taught a game show seminar, and I then I had the name the cinnamon Papa, which means promptness, appearance, your personality, and your ability. I mean, when you go into audition for a game show, being prompt is very important because they want to make sure that when you come to the studio, you're going to be prompt. They want to make sure you look okay. Then your personality. They want to make sure you're friendly and you're open and you have, because I can tell you a few stories about that you're enthusiastic. And the most important thing also is the ability. Know the game before you're going in. Know how to play the game if it's not a new game. Right. It's important to, watch it and research it because I'm casting a show now and I tell contestants to look at the old show. So, and I'll tell you something interesting. I did $1 Million Chance of a Lifetime with Jim Lang. It was the first $1 Million game show. We had a contestant. They auditioned. I wasn't going to bring them back because they were kind of quiet, especially the husband. She called me up and she said, are you going to bring us back for a callback? And luckily she called me. I had her card on my desk and I was very honest. And I said, you're a little quiet. Your husband's very quiet. If you can come back and get more outgoing. They did, and they walked home with $1 million.
Oh my God! See that? So
I give
meant to be. Chances. You hold $1 million of other people's money in your hands, Beverly. You have to understand your importance in the world. Absolutely. But I have to tell you, we talk about your importance in the industry. Is it fair to say that your industry is mostly made up of men, or at least for sure when you started was made up of men? And if so, what obstacles did you have to overcome being a female in a male-dominated industry?
Interesting question. I'll tell you why. Because I was working, and I agree with you, there were a lot of men. And when we were doing $1 Million Chance of a Lifetime, we were interviewing contestants. The producer wanted one of the other casting members, a man, to hold the auditions. And I said, but I can do them also. Will you give me a chance? And they go, well, okay, go. We'll give you a chance. And I did the auditions and they go, you're hired. And I got to do all the auditions.
That's great. That's great. And, you've had such a long and successful career and you're still doing it. But up until today, what is the favorite game show that you've cast for?
I've loved a lot of them, most of them, but I love Family Feud. I casted that for 8 years and I met so many different kinds of families and how they work together or didn't work together. And all different nationalities. And you just kind of want to hug everybody because I just loved it. I loved all the different kinds of people that you meet at one time and you see the dynamics. Can I tell you a funny story about Family Feud?
Tell me many funny stories. Go ahead.
So I worked on Family Feud for 8 years and we had this woman, one of mine that I
who was the host at that time? Because they've been a couple.
Okay, we had Ray Combs. I worked with Ray Combs and then Richard Dawson.
Gotcha.
I didn't work for Richard. I didn't work in the beginning of it.
Right.
So it was Richard Dawson, then it was Ray Combs, right. And then Richard Dawson. And I would go find families. So I found this family, got him on the show. They were taping. They said, are you ready? She goes, she was from the South. She goes, all right, I'm ready. And her underpants fell down. Oh, and they get caught on her ankles. What? And one of the girls, I think it was Maggie. She walked out, grabbed the underwear, pushed her on stage. And she yells out, that's the last time I'm wearing my underpants over my pantyhose. I said, Nadine, what happened? She goes, well, I had my arms up in the air and I hear pop and they're my bloomers.
Oh my God. So I'm sure that was edited out.
No. Well, you couldn't. Yeah. No, it wasn't edited out because
I couldn't see
her because she was bad. But yeah.
Right. Wow.
So she sits down, picks them up and just keeps playing.
But we talk about the different people and I'm a big game show fan also. But I know that to my knowledge, Family Feud may be the only one with a full family on there. So, I taught for well over 30 years. I taught English and I worked with a lot of students and teachers from all walks of life, all different personalities. So I can only imagine what other funny stories you have about people you've worked with and things that they've done, the way they've acted, getting too excited, not hitting the mark, and I'm sure some inappropriate things that we really can't discuss here too much. But tell me a little bit more about some things that happened that would definitely be interesting, certainly be behind the scenes.
Okay, I actually wrote a script called Cast of Characters. It's behind the scenes of a game show. I'm trying to get it out, but I've had readings with it. And it's real stuff that happens, and it's really funny of all the little things that go on. But we had and so I would tell contestants, I would work on Classic Concentration with Alex Trebek. What a joy that was to work on. They actually made me a model for 2 days. It was really fun. And so Alex was great to work with. So we're playing the game. Do you know Classic Concentration? It's that you pick a number, or a prize comes up and you try to.
It has to match it, right?
Correct. Sure. So this kid, 23 years old, he matched everything except the last. Well, there were 3. He knew where it was. There was no way he couldn't win. He had like 12 seconds left. It was impossible. He decided not to win. I was like, what? Because once you win, you don't get to come back to play. And he wanted to win more prizes.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, so he goes back to play. He didn't win that, didn't win the car, comes back to play, lost, walked home. His mother was in the audience, and she ran up to him and said, what are you doing? So I tell contestants, if you have the opportunity to win, just win.
Win, right.
Because there's no guarantee.
No, and then it's interesting. The game shows of today are so different from the old ones. I still love the old ones.
Which one's your favorite?
I really, believe it or not, I did like, Match Game I enjoyed, but my favorite really was the Hollywood Squares.
My favorite.
Was the more celebrities I can see in one night, the better. But I just love, I don't know if they were fed things, but the answers from Paul Lynde and some of the other people, and Joan Rivers and all the people that I idolized and that I did really like and find very funny. I really enjoyed that. Plus, it's a yes or no, a true or not true thing. So it's not like Jeopardy where, unless it's something really to my expertise, I just get them all wrong. So at least you got a 50-50 shot with that show. So I really enjoyed that. But that may be my favorite, but I enjoyed almost all of them. I mean, Joker's Wild and the old Price is Right, the old Let's Make a Deal, all those shows, I just enjoyed them. My mother would get crazy. When I was a kid, she would cry if somebody won a lot of money and started to cry. I mean, she was really into the emotionality of the show.
Me too. But, I get that.
Yeah, I think it's a great outlet, though. So when you're managing the contestants, for lack of a better term, I guess you really have to give them the tips and prep them. But what's the winning recipe? Not just to win the game, but go out there. And so when editing is done, Beverly knows I did my job, because when Samantha first came on here, she was only doing X and Y, and I helped her become the model contestant.
Well, yes, I've had contestants that one girl came up to me, Hollywood Showdown. I'll always remember that. We kept them on for a week. And if they didn't win, they got to play again. So this girl came up to me at lunch and she says, I know I'm smarter. I know the answer. What's wrong? Why aren't I getting in? So I asked her, what is she doing? And, when you press the buzzer, she was going up and down. I said, no, just down. She did down and she won the next game.
That's great.
So that makes me feel really good. And then, and then another thing, I had a man on, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? He comes to play the game. And just so the contestants know, there's never 100% guarantee, because if somebody doesn't show up or we have too many contestants, we might have to send you home and bring you back the next day, which happens. So we try to have them save 2 days. So this guy comes in, I'm so excited. He's one of my guys. I drive in and he's coming out. And I said, what happened? He said, they sent me home. I go, what? They couldn't use me today. He was very upset. He goes, I'm not coming back tomorrow. I called him when I got home and I said, look, I'm not talking you into it. I'm talking you into it though. Go back. It's one more day of your life. And he walked home with $300,000.
Oh my God. What show was that?
Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
That's a lot of money, but that's not really old then. That's only a few years ago. Correct?
Well, it was back again. I did it about, I don't know, 10 years ago.
A lot of money back then.
I was in New York. I met a producer. Well, I just met this guy who worked in whatever. And we flew him to LA and he knew the answer. He had $175,000 on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? He knew the answer. He said it 3 times. Wisconsin, Wisconsin, Wisconsin. Okay, you're going to lock in Florida.
What?
He lost 100. I know, nobody can believe it.
Oh my God. I remember, there was a TV show with Nell Carter. I don't remember the name of it, but in it, the character's name was Nell, and she was on Wheel of Fortune, and it was give me liberty or give me death, and it was for a car, and she said, I got it, and they said, what is it? And she said, give me liberty or give me a car. on the TV show. So I remember that, and I did have someone I went to school with who was also on Wheel of Fortune probably about 20 years ago also. So it's so cool when you see all that. I couldn't believe how small the studios were. Boy, when they edit and do their magic, it really is quite something, because it's different from what it is when you go in there.
No, it's very different. You think you're going to be in this huge thing, and you've got the audience. You know, we now they don't really have audience because of COVID, but they have virtual audiences, right. So it's a bit different. But we did have a contestant. You're going to love this. It was Catch 21. We have the room filled, and we had the producers, and they want to go upstairs and talk to the contestants before they go on, just so they understand the game and they kind of guide them a little bit how to play the game. So this one guy is sitting back in a chair reading a newspaper, and everybody's listening except this contestant. So my producer says, go talk to him. So I went up to him very quietly. I said, could you put down the paper and really listen? It's important. He does. And not more than maybe a minute later, he picks it up again. He's reading. I said, excuse me, but just for 5 minutes, put it down. She said I would. He said, what part of, yes, didn't you understand? Everybody went. So I called him. I said, excuse me. I said, could you come here for a minute? And I put him in the hallway. And all I said was, bye-bye.
Yeah. Was he shocked?
He did. I ran into him years later. He had no idea. I said, I had his wife on, and she was terrific. That was like 2 weeks before he was there. And then, but that's why we have extra contestants. But I didn't know what would happen if he came downstairs and he didn't like what was going on. And
he might read the newspaper during the show.
Exactly. So I just tell people to have fun with it and, be kind and have, be silly and chatty and don't sit there quietly because they might not bring you for the show.
Well, Beverly, let's walk down the path of the logistics of being a contestant. So I fill out whatever I fill out, or I contact whoever I'm supposed to when I come in, and whatever show it is, I'm sitting down and you walk in. What happens next?
Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see all of you. And everybody go, oh, it's like, And then I ask them who's seen the game, because sometimes they haven't seen the game. So I just say, raise your hand. And most of them, of course, have. And then I tell them we're going to play the game. And, I call them, we have their name tags. We give them a name tag. Right. So I call them up and then I'll say, hey, Mark, okay, name the most beautiful state, and you raise your hand. And this is our Family Feud. Name the most beautiful state. And you would say,
oh, me? Florida.
Florida. And it was North Carolina. It doesn't mean Florida wasn't. That was, right. We could just get a thing from people. So we just, I play the game with everybody and make sure that they understand. If they're kind of quiet, I go, come on, just a little more energy. Be that silly person like you're at a game. Because I was very blessed because on Catch 21, I did it 4 seasons. I got to select every contestant. I didn't have to go through any producers. So it was wonderful. And I had great contestants. So I don't get to always select everyone. I can push them through, say, this is great, take a look. So it's a little bit different now, but when you like the people, you put, great, fun or something, and then you give it to the producers and they select really good contestants, because when you watch the shows, they're like, wow, these contestants are great, no matter who picks them. Right. Everybody has a good eye, because we all, producers, writers, everybody knows what makes a good contestant.
Right. Well, in teaching, it's all about the students. On these game shows, It's all about the contestants. Right. So, you can make or break a show in your position. And Yeah,
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, it's so funny. I had this girl on, and we tell them that even if you don't know the answer, if you know the answer, shout it out because you're going to make a great face. You're going to be really happy. And if you shout it out and you didn't know the answer, you're going to make another great face and the camera's going to be happy.
Right.
I mean, you can't lose. So
Right.
this one girl, I come out and she goes really quietly, vinegar. She didn't see me. And I turned like this. She goes, I mean, vinegar. It was so funny.
Yeah, because I know they have the thing. They have the signs when I saw one of the shows. Applause, applause, louder, louder, and louder. So, how many people are in the room at one time when you're, I guess, auditioning these contestants?
Well, that can vary. You know, when I do Family Feud, it's just two families against each other. When I did like Catch 21, maybe I'd have 30 people in the room auditioning them. So it depends, and probably Jeopardy might only have 2 people. I don't know. Every game show is a little bit different, but usually you bring in a bunch of people and then you play the game. I went for a game show interview before I ever worked in television, and I will always remember this. It was a circle, and I was in the center, and I found it very intimidating. I did not find it fun. I found the casting person very quiet. It was not fun. And I looked at that person, and I said, someday I want to be doing this. And, years later, I got a job doing it. And then I make it fun. I mean, I make it like silly and playful.
What was that show ever aired? The one that you auditioned for?
I think it was Match Game.
Really?
And I had a boyfriend on it. He was 6'7". And before I ever worked in television, I said, they're going to use you. You're 6'7".
Oh, yeah.
And the question was, I couldn't believe it. Blank breast. Blank breast. What would you have said on Match Game?
Chicken.
What does he say? Big.
I just said it. I said he said big.
He said big. And of course he lost.
Yes. Oh, wow. That's amazing. So yeah, that game, I really like that too. And I was on a plane a couple of years ago, and then I was looking through the channels and it said the game show channel. So I turned it on and I was expecting current game shows. It was Match Game 73. They used to always put whatever the year was. And so I saw all these things, and like music, game shows to me is the passing of my childhood and the different shows through different decades of my life. So I found that so interesting because I really remember I was in I wouldn't even say teens, 10, 11, 12, and some of these shows were on, and I watched them and I really enjoyed them. And the fact that they were on 5 days a week, and I said, boy, I didn't know that they shot some of them 4 or 5 days in one day.
Yes.
They would change their outfits a little bit. So just to get, as many shows on as they could. So I was always very, very intrigued by that. But I want to get, a lot of our viewers are either teens or they're parents of teens. So again, a woman in what was or is a male-dominated field, and talk about following your passion and struggles and overcoming adversity and doing you.
Great. That's a great question, because I remember, and I tell people, think outside the box. There was a job show for MTV called The Blame Game. They're not going to hire me. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, and everybody was 20 to 30 to audition. I mean, to apply for the job. And I thought, they're not going to hire me. And my girlfriend yelled at me, go in there. She said, send me your resume. So I said, okay, all they can say is no, right? I sent my resume. A girl's walking down, and I looked up at her and I went, I think I met you at Kmart. I asked you to be on a game show. She started laughing. Anyway, I walk in, and the producer is there. And I thought, he's not going to hire me because everybody's, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? I walk up to him, Barry Posnick. I loved him. I worked on a lot of shows with him. After I walk up to him, I look him right in the eye and I shake his hand and I go, hi, I just want you to know I'm 24 and I wear sparkles. He said, you got the job. And I worked with him.
They needed that sense of humor, that realistic person.
Well, because they were hiring younger people.
Right.
And they couldn't take the show. They couldn't find the right people. Right. So I'm not uncomfortable going into like weird, different kinds of places and talking to people. So I worked with him on Girls Behaving Badly with Chelsea Handler. I worked with him on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? A few other shows. So, I would tell people out there, no matter what it is, even if it's just a regular job like banking or wherever you go, put a smile on your face, shake their hand, look them in the eye, and and make the job work for you. You don't have to work for the job. Have it work for you. Enjoy it. Learn from it. Because for me, I learned from banking, and it was a stepping stone to something else. So whatever you're doing, I tell people, have fun with it. Find something about it you like, and it will work.
Excellent advice, because even as a contestant and a casting person, it's not just about knowledge. It's about the personality. It's about the effervescence and just being personable. And that's really important, because a lot of people who are great at certain things, when they get outside the cubicle at work, that's when sometimes they run into problems. Because even with COVID, people haven't been able to interact in so long. I saw something about re-entry, like re-entry to society, because do I say hello? Do I hug you? How do you make the eye contact? So absolutely. But your job is personality plus.
Right. Well, we did have a guy, he auditioned for my game show. Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? He passed 2 tests. He was so smart. We put him on the show. He lost on the second grade question.
See, it's not just about the knowledge. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's it's a combination. You might know it, but maybe you have a brain fog for that second.
Oh yeah, brain freeze, sure. And so what's next for you? What's next for Beverly Pomerantz?
Well, I love traveling. I can't wait to travel. I used to have my own talk show called Adventures with Bev. I would teach people how to travel by themselves, because there was something. This was before, the pandemic and everything, of course. And but I love game shows because it gets me out there. I meet the most amazing people. I used to chaperone the dating game. This is an interesting story. I was a chaperone for the dating game, and I went to Bangkok, Jamaica, Alaska. And so in Jamaica, I called a girl. I hadn't talked to her in 30 years. Called her up. We became friends over the phone. And one of the guy, can't think of his name right now, Will, I think, he contacted her this after 30 years and just said, "Oh, hi, I'm blah, blah, blah." So I called him last week. I said, "I was your chaperone." He writes the Vin Diesel movies now.
Oh my God.
I mean, so we're going to stay in touch, and he's like a big producer now. And then there was another one of my contestant in Alaska. He worked for Sony. Now he opened up his own movie studio. So I'm going to call him. And so what's next for me? Whatever I do is fun. Even if I just go out and talk to people, or help people, and maybe become a big sister again for a while.
And you're working on a game show now?
Yeah, yes, I'm working on Pictionary. It's the old show. It's coming back. It'll be on some Fox, selective Fox stations. It's a great show. That's where you have 2 contestants, and then you have 2 celebrities, and you have to draw a picture.
Who's the host? Because I've seen
we
that.
We don't know yet. I think they're still making. I think it's probably between a couple people.
Right. My last show, I had Stella Singleton Jones on, and she's a sculptor. And I said to her, I have such respect for artists. I said, because my wife and I can't draw. We were at a couple's house playing Pictionary. I said this 2 weeks ago, and I drew a table, and my wife guessed sheep. So obviously my drawing wasn't too good. So when people could do that, it's just amazing. So that's interesting too. So that's great, exciting. What's that?
I'll save you for Let's Make a Deal, because they do it virtually now.
I saw Let's Make a Deal with Wayne Brady, and there were about 6 people in the audience. But the audience, not the contestants were there, but the audience in the back obviously was virtual, just like all the shows like American Idol was, and things like that, and The Voice, where they have the 150 like little TV screens of the people. So they find a way. They adapted well. This is the first time in the history of my life something like this happened. So it's great to see that although it affected your industry, it didn't stop your industry. Correct. Which is a very big deal. So that's just all great stuff and insight. And Beverly Pomerantz, thank you for joining us today, sharing the inner secrets of the game show magic. Really appreciate it. And this is Mark Hoberman thanking you for watching Lighting the Educational Flame. Have a great day. Beverly, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. This was great.
Thank you for watching Lighting the Educational Flame. To contact Mark Hoberman, email him at info@gradesuccess.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Lighting the Educational Flame.